How's your hair? Is it good?
Hair is good.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Just for the audio check. Beyond the Breaker podcast. I'm Andrew Colbard.
Ben Foreman, really excited to be here. Finally, right?
Finally. We're here. The mics are on, cameras are on, and we're here to unpack what is Hunt Electric in this Beyond the Breaker podcast. So welcome to the listeners and the viewers. We appreciate you watching the first episode. We want you to be here for every episode going forward.
Heck yeah.
And Ben, let's just talk about real quick why we're here, what the goal of this podcast is, and really where we want to go with this. So if you have a quick comment.
Yeah, it's all about connecting folks, right? The company has grown dramatically over the last several years. We've got lots of different branch offices, lots of different specialized roles. We've got craft workers and foremen and all kind of folks everywhere. But let's pull them all together in a little different format so that we understand kind of the family goals that we have, how we're moving forward together, and all the jargon aside. How can we get better together faster, right?
You're right, and I think the goal of Hunt Electric is always connecting people with opportunity. Yep. Let's just say the goal of this podcast is connecting the people of Hunt with the people of Hunt.
There you go,
and more.
Yeah,
as we go further with this. So we're happy to be here. We can't wait to get this kicked off, but we have a lot of people to thank. And really the integral team so far in this, and I think there's going to be a lot more that get involved, but we need to thank Ben Converse, Travis Melander. They're on the audio visual. Lindsay Brown, she does all the communications for the podcast group. Jason Dirks, Chris Weiss were integral in getting the equipment. And obviously you can see we have top of the line equipment because that's how we do it here.
Yep.
And then our fearless leader, Sarah Bang. Thank you to everybody who's been involved. There's been a lot more that we're missing and not being named there. We had a survey sent out with a ton of responses. So again, it's a company podcast.
Yeah.
It's a Hunt Electric production, family production. Everybody's been involved. Everybody will get involved. And we appreciate everyone that's done that. So we have a first guest episode, Jared Kinneberg, coming from the field.
Yeah.
Quick thoughts on that.
Yeah, it was great to sit down and talk with Jared. I've had a chance to work with him a little bit. Many of the people listening to this and watching this also know him well. But really cool to just see and listen to him kind of unpack the way that he's moved through his career. Started here really young, has been here a really long time. Some of the listeners, your entire lives. And Jared's just really great at explaining some of those things that he's learned and the way that his leadership style is really positively impacting, not that the guy was bragging about himself, but, just really positively impacting the way that we do our work, the way that we behave in the field, embrace technology. So yeah, I'd encourage everybody to listen and hear some of those nuggets from Jared. He's just a great guest, great general foreman, and all around solid human being.
Yeah. And for future guests, there's a bar set now.
Yeah.
So you know where it's at. Ben, before we get into that interview, though, you have a couple things you want to mention about the company and where we're at.
Yeah, as part of that goal to just make those connections across the company, because we're spread out all over the country, really just a couple of nuggets in no specific order to just tell you what we're doing, how we're doing it, and some of the people involved in that. In the IT group, one of the things we're doing is embracing AI. Totally different to different people doing different things. We hear about it in the news in different ways, and chip manufacturers, whatever that is. But one of the things we're trying to do there is really figure out how to leverage that as a tool within Hunt to really, protect ourselves and our data and not give everything away, but really take another look at how we're doing the work that we do. It's really cool, and you guys will see more and more things rolled out that are connected to that AI platform. One of the other things that I wanted to mention, in southern Minnesota, we've got offices in Rochester and New Ulm due to a recent acquisition of Paul's Electric, and the teams there are so great. As we kind of move forward together and want to make sure that our processes are a little better and we're a little bit more streamlined and standardized, they've really upped their game in the way that we're approaching pre-construction through business development, estimating, and really trying to give our customers a more uniform experience throughout the different Hunt offices. So I think they're doing really cool stuff, and hopefully you'll see that too. The last thing I want to mention is we like to play with a lot of data. One of the platforms we use with that is Click for our business information and analytics. And there's a team in
Rosemount.
Thank you. Goodness. Rosemount, Minnesota, working on a hyperscale data center. And one of the things that team needed was to be able to share some very key metrics that were unique to their project. So they've got a gentleman on that team by the name of Logan Underdahl, and holy guacamole, has that guy put together some cool tools. If anybody wants to check out some of the things that they did for that specific project, it's going to be worth your time. And, it's just an example of how we customize some of the things that we need as a group for our different project teams, both for the field and for the office workers and everybody else. So with that said, those are some cool tell me something good kind of updates. Andrew, let's go.
Let's roll into it.
Andrew, do you want to get us started if we haven't started already?
Yeah, I'd love to get us started, and I would love to welcome our guest, Jared Kinneberg. This is I would say our number one, right? This is the guy that everybody wanted.
The most sought after
podcast guest. So we said number one. He's our guy. This may be the first and only episode.
If we can get him to turn red, that'll be great.
Absolutely, yeah. We're talking a Spotify contract at the end of this episode.
Right.
Going to monetize this.
Based on our guests. So, Jared, welcome to the Beyond the Breaker podcast.
Thank you.
We are pleased to have you here. We have a ton of questions that we would love to know, not only about you, but as you were the most asked for guest, just questions about your experience and kind of your expertise in the field of electrical contracting, as well as advice for people who are in the field and even in the office, because I think what you understand is way more than probably even office people, field people understand. The experience you have is phenomenal. So let's start. You've been in the industry around 25 years. Tell us about that path.
So, I'm actually 29. It'll be 29 this year. I've been with Hunt. It'll be 25 in December. I did my apprenticeship in Rochester with a small contractor.
Is that where you grew up?
I grew up in southeastern Minnesota in a small town, farming town, Rushford.
Okay, rock and roll.
And then I went to school in Albert Lea for construction electrician and got into the union in 96 and worked in Rochester for till like 2006. And then I came up to St. Paul.
Yeah, right on.
Has that experience with Rochester, when you did come up to St. Paul, at what level were you at that time?
I was a general foreman.
You were? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you moved in that spot.
Yep.
Tell us about those apprentice days and what that was like back in those early years for you.
The apprenticeship was great. Contractor I worked for, there was like 4 journeymen and a couple of apprentices. We did small to medium, light commercial, little bit of everything, hodgepodge, service truck, dabbled in a little bit of everything.
Okay.
It was challenging at times, a lot of mall stores and
the retail.
Some
Which is like a different planet, right?
Right.
It's different than industrial. It's different than healthcare.
Yep. Yeah, I didn't get into healthcare until I came to work for Hunt in Rochester at the Mayo Clinic.
When you think about that, like you started out at a relatively small contractor, doing relatively small jobs, and now Hunt is a very different beast than that, and you saw it evolve. I don't want to bang the drum too many times, but what sort of advice might you give to somebody looking to get into the trades? Hey, you got to go with a small contractor first because they're gonna expose you to everything, or oh no, you got to go with a big contractor because they're going to give you opportunities differently. Like, do you have anything that fits or things you'd ask? Folks?
Yeah, everyone's different, right? Sure. Some people just don't want to be in a ginormous pool because all they are is a number. And, truth is, we all are a number.
On this planet, collectively.
Yeah. But no, in a smaller contractor, everyone knows everyone. Everyone knows everyone's families because, I was really close with a lot of my coworkers, and I still am with that smaller contractor.
Because I would push back on that a little bit. Like, I think that the way that we build job sites and crews, like, you and I have interfaced on a few different projects over time. Like one of the projects was the Mayo lacrosse bed tower that was put up down there over a couple of years. Like, but that was a team. Like you helped shape that team.
Correct.
And you knew about their families. They know about yours and hobbies and stuff like that. So I think you can still create that.
Yeah, you can. You can. It's harder though, the more people you have. Like, did I know all 50 guys?
Not super well.
No. I knew my core group, the foremen and, guys that we interacted with more. I interacted with more on a daily basis, material handlers and
I want to just quickly, because we're going to make this podcast about me right away. I want to talk about probably his most forgotten number on a job site he's ever been on. When I was working as a pre-apprentice, which is a phenomenal program in the union, Minnesota unions, I was a glorified stair walker. I wasn't even a material handler on this, but Jared was the foreman on that job, and I will say, to your credit, and I would love for you to expand on this. That job specifically, you built a phenomenal team. I was in college at the time. I was playing sports, and all I was looking for in that sense of, all right, how am I going to fit in here? And it was a team environment. You got there, we sat down, we debriefed. This is what your task is today. Here's the goal. And this is by the end of the day, did we make this project better? And there's an end goal at the end. For me, it's that, you were a phenomenal leader in that sense. There were awesome personalities on that job. Some who I still remember. And when I see them today, they're always like, hey, you always carried all my material. Like, yeah, I did. But I would love for you I would love for you to go into what is your approach in building a team and making sure things are getting done, but also making sure that everybody's buying into the culture of the job site and being safe when they do it, but also being efficient?
Probably attitudes and positive attitudes and personalities. Every job there's negative Nellies, and it can bring down a whole job, and it usually starts at the top. Even if the job's negative, I don't show that, nor will I ever. I'll be positive no matter what. And just picking the right people, right? Judgment of character.
And when you say picking the right people, as you think about that, is that the leadership structure? Who you want to identify as foreman? Or even, you're putting a call to the hall or to our own labor team and picking the right apprentices and J-dubs?
Yeah. For instance, on jobs I've done here in the cities, we have guys that are foremen that work for Hunt. Then I know several of them. They come on. It's a piece of cake. They know the technology. They know what we expect. They know all the stretching, all our safety program and whatnot. Go to lacrosse. None of these guys have been on a project that size.
Sure.
They never seen the tools we provide. They've never done all the safety stuff we do. But you can just tell, right? If someone's got it, you can just tell. And I don't know what that magic is, but you can ask anyone in my position, and they'll probably say the same thing. You can just tell.
I think that means a lot. It also says a lot about the people that are in your position, and you specifically is this the knack to be able to tell. That in of itself, right? There is a certain trait that you have to be able to tell that. He kicked me off the job.
Well, even for myself, I never wanted to be a foreman ever. That's just not my forte. I don't like to be in the spotlight.
So then
here I am.
But then who was, what did the guy or the gal, what did they identify about you?
I don't know. But they asked me on a Thursday if I wanted to be a foreman after I got back from vacation.
Yeah.
And I said, let me think about it over the weekend. All I want to do is work full wire, bend pipe.
Yeah, no. But there's so much extra money, Jared.
Right. But I was 25 years old.
Yeah.
And I didn't know nothing about healthcare.
Sure.
And they threw, I don't know. And then Friday, he's like, you're going to do it. And I said, well, if I don't do well, I don't want to get fired or laid off. Let me go back to work. So I tried it. The sink or swim mentality. And apparently I did something. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. But it worked,
Yeah,
right?
it worked.
And you learned some stuff.
You do. You learn stuff. Pickups from other people. Ask a lot of questions.
And then
Big support group in this company that, there's a lot of very, very intelligent people that work here that we can reach out to. I do it to this day. I reach out to people.
Yeah. Yeah. If at any time I'm the smartest guy in the room, we've done something wrong. Like I need to lean on everybody else's skills and expertise and experience to that's the only way we win.
Right.
So you got to be a foreman. They asked you on a Thursday, you thought about it over the weekend.
I didn't. They made me on Friday. They're like, you're doing it.
Lucky you.
So far, that gamble's working.
Yeah.
Right?
If you knew the individuals, you would appreciate who it was.
Do you want to name drop, or is it best left anonymous?
I won't name drop.
All right.
Tell us after.
Yeah, I'll tell you afterwards.
We'll protect the innocent.
You guys probably don't even know them, but they're kind of legends around here.
All right. And then you became a general foreman. Like, was that a quick transition? Did you feel ready for that leap?
Did I feel ready for it?
Yeah.
Not really, because I didn't really know what I was. I mean, I knew how to wire stuff, and I just never done it in that capacity. It was at the Gonda building, so it's huge.
And that's on the Rochester Mayo campus?
Yes.
Okay.
So
say a little bit about that project to just give some context, because there's going to be a foreman listening to this,
right?
Or a J-Dub listening to this, who's going to be like, oh yeah, I can do Jared's job.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying like convince them otherwise,
right.
Tell them kind of the storm they're going to get into.
Yeah, they kind of just brought me in and they're like, hey, here's a set of drawings. We got these things figured out already for you. We just need you to, and it had a bunch of medical equipment that was foreign to me at the time.
Was this like a TI fit up or corn
Yeah, it
shell
was a
combo?
TI fit up.
Okay.
Because Hunt did both the TI and the corn shell, but I was working on the TI.
Okay.
And was it the kind of thing where like one immediately followed the other?
Yeah, kind of. It was kind of working the way up, right?
Yeah, I know sometimes we build out shell space and then we come back a year later.
Right. But that's kind of what it was. And I just got a team of guys that it was really awkward for me as a 25-year-old to tell 55-year-old, 45-year-old seasoned journeymans what to do.
Yeah.
But they were all pretty chill and cool with it.
Yeah.
What was that day-to-day like for you? How did you integrate yourself from the start of that and work through it?
On that project specifically? I'm trying to think back now. It's been so long.
I guess what was the big challenge, or what was new as you realize now, like, oh wow, I'm in a different role now. This is, and I understand size is probably one.
Yeah, it was size and medical. I'd never done medical before. Before it was like office buildings and hotels, and like I said,
they're different, man.
They're different.
Yeah.
And this was huge. We had a lot of guys there. So
and Mayo's no slouch when it comes to knowing what they want.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm just kind of looking around at a little housekeeping. Are you guys picking up Jared's audio really well? Yeah. You don't have to eat the thing.
All right.
A little closer.
Okay. Sorry.
No, it's okay. I was just noticing you were kind of relaxing back there.
Yeah.
I did not put deodorant on today. So.
That's the problem.
Scooting back.
I want to totally switch gears on this thing. Because, we want to know about work stuff. But having done a couple of things together, I understand that your wife is a hairdresser.
She is.
How does she feel about you representing her craft and her work? Like, this is on camera, this is on video. Is she pumped for this or what?
I don't know. She was teasing me about it.
You want a hat?
No, I'm good.
Because I know like we've prepped for interviews before.
Right.
And you're like, oh man, I gotta get my hair cut. Yeah, it's been too long, gotta get my hair cut.
Yeah, you guys are all worried about it, and then I shave.
Yeah. She give you a fresh cut?
No.
All right.
Not too long ago I got one. So
all right.
There you go.
Rock and roll.
Yeah.
I just had to ask because I knew she was a hairdresser.
Yes. She was.
So kind of going back to the work side of the house, Andrew mentioned change a little bit ago.
Yep.
29 years in the industry, like so many things from a technological perspective have changed.
Big time.
And you had to change along with that.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody wanted to. What would you say are like some of the coolest, best technology changes that have helped you be a better electrician or a better foreman or better at planning? Like, kind of go anywhere with it. But
All
like,
right.
what are some of the best?
Yep.
And maybe after that, like, what are some turds? Like, what are some things that just, oh, this is going to be so great. And it was awful.
All right. I'll start way back.
All right.
So I got my first computer, I think it was in 2005 or 2006.
Yeah.
And I turned it on maybe 3 times. And I, like, this is not working for me. This thing's a piece of crap.
Yeah.
And I I didn't know how to use it. Plus, it was slow. I couldn't, it was dial-up internet. And,
Yeah.
and so I didn't use it. And then fast forward a few years, I was asked to use an iPad. And I'm like, I don't need an iPad. What do I need an iPad for?
That's for kids.
And then I thought about it. I'm like, well, everything's going to the iPad. And so I'm like, well, let's just get one. And now I'm like, I can't do my job without a computer and an iPad and 3 screens. And, as far as technology, all the programs, it gets overwhelming at times, but you just got to be patient. That's my best advice. Be patient and be willing to learn it. And I know we do a lot of things and we're busy.
We're all busy.
It is.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating. I get that it is frustrating for some people, but.
Would you say the short-term struggle with that, though, is well worth kind of these long-term efficiencies that come from
it? Yeah, for sure it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's, collective across the board. Any job site, whether it's a small or large job site, I think it's so integrated now in what we do.
Right.
It can be utilized everywhere.
Right.
Because you're in the hot seat. If you were king for a day, like, what is like the one piece of software that you would make sure that all the general foremen knew, or as foremen were coming up and getting better at their work, what's like one thing that you would make sure that they could do really well in order to fill that role?
Bluebeam would probably be the top one.
Sure.
For what I use.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I know that we use Bluebeam in a lot of different ways. We're getting PDFs from others. We're creating some of our own because sometimes we do a lot of design build work. We create Bluebeam Studio sessions so that we can collaborate and check things in and out. Can you do all that on an iPad?
I don't like doing it. No.
Okay.
iPad's more for viewing and
Sure.
I mean, I've tried doing some stuff on there, but
Yeah. So let's learn Bluebeam. Let's do it on a laptop. Let's get really proficient at doing that stuff.
I mean, you can do it, but if you're doing point to points or any of the stuff like that, it gets.
Sure.
I'm not good at it on the iPad.
I've never tried it on an iPad. I've only ever done it on a laptop or a desktop. Yeah.
Right. I'm curious. So as technology's progressed, and I previously came from a world of dealing with the apprenticeship, what has the experience been like when you flip things around and you have younger electricians coming into the trade who probably have a background in technology and how to utilize it? Is it easy for you to...
And they have no idea what dial-up internet is.
Yeah. And
it wasn't fast.
Yeah, I believe that. It sounds slow, but what was that experience like in the sense of how do you approach somebody like, hey, you get a good read on somebody, they understand technology, what do I need to teach them, as opposed to maybe a veteran electrician who's been in the field for a while, and the flip side of their skills are really good. Technology-wise, a little bit different. Is that a struggle, or are you not seeing it as much quite
I
yet?
haven't seen it as much yet.
Okay. Do you think that will be?
Possibly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
I understand from career change standpoints for a lot of individuals, it's coming from maybe some technology backgrounds,
right,
and they're really interested in the electrical systems.
Yep.
Whereas technical skills maybe are not as good, but understanding, all right, that's what this means, and I can do this portion, but there's a lot more I need to learn. So be curious when that actually does make that transition. So
yeah, because as like more folks are coming into the industry, I say more folks, I'm just dating myself, right? I've been in the field since probably 95, 96 myself. And, now there's folks who are coming in and working in the office who are half my age.
Right.
And they've never known, a life without the internet, and the tools, they're so much faster, so much more adept at kind of navigating that. And I'm always trying to keep my brain open. Like, what can I learn from them? How can I reposition my own bias, my own mindset to just learn more?
I've learned a lot from younger people that I've been around on, whether it was the off APM or even the GC had some younger people on a project that you worked on that kind of showed me how to use Bluebeam, like a lot of the tricks, because I never got any formal training on it. And she just kind of like, do this, but don't do this. You're not ready for that yet.
Yeah.
Don't hit the big red button.
Yeah.
Shut it all down.
Is that something like we could actively do as a company, think about, hey, what are ways that we can provide some of that formal training for the software and technology that the field
for sure.
has to?
For sure.
Like I know huge on safety, huge on some other policies, but like let's get really good at using the technology because those are our tools for the future.
Right. But how much does it change?
Oh, so fast.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like I
Tough to
see
get integrated.
Yeah.
some of the stuff that we're bringing out to the field, like as we integrate prefab to that and, what we're doing with being able to, set that with the Trimble system and just have some points,
Right.
put a whole room in place and it's accurate to tiny, tiny fractions of an inch.
Right.
Like,
Well, yeah, like the Trimble system, I know enough to put it on the flash drive and plug it in. That's all I know how to do. And there's way more to it than that.
oh, for sure. And that's why we have guys like Mike Wishney who go out and train others on how to deploy those tools.
Right.
Ben mentioned something I'd love to get your perspective on. As we progress through this podcast, we plan to have people from Bear Manufacturing on. What has prefab been like for you? Can you discuss maybe the early onset of it to now the lacrosse project and where we see that going as a company?
So prefab, I've always been a believer in it. Certain
Why?
thing. Because I seen it work.
Okay.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
Fair
that's
answer.
a great answer.
and I seen it fail also.
Sure.
I've seen both sides of it.
Failures cause less headaches in prefab when
Right.
yeah.
I mean, I've seen a lot of waste,
yeah.
but there's certain things that work really well and certain things that don't.
Yeah.
I'm not going to elaborate on what those were, but
And it's okay if you do. Like part of this is about learning and
Right.
and
it
sharing.
was way early on. I'm talking back in the early 2000s
Yeah.
when we struggled with some in-wall type stuff.
Sure.
Okay.
And then as we move forward, I would take and build like my own little prefab shop on my job, whether it was throwing out normal lighting and building the thing and piling it on a pallet and then going out and hanging it and stuff like that. Putting boxes together, or building wire mold,
Yeah.
stuff like that. And then in lacrosse, obviously, that was the most I got involved with the modeling aspect of it and all the different points for all the hanging boxes and stuff. And we put in bangers for all that. And we modeled actually the branch all the way out.
Yeah.
So we were able to utilize the prefab to build the racks, for say.
Yeah.
And then we hung them up with gripples and it went really, really nice. And as far as the feeders, we did the same on the feeders. We didn't use gripple. We used some other techniques, but.
Sure. So is it fair to say that what you were doing on that lacrosse project a couple of years ago was like another level or another evolution?
Yeah, I'd never done the branch before,
Yeah.
the smaller branch, and it worked awesome. Now, it takes a lot of time and effort to get it modeled.
Sure.
But
On
I
the
don't,
front end, yeah.
but it was a time saver on the job. Did it save money? I don't know.
Yeah.
But did it save schedule? Absolutely.
From a field perspective, is prefabrication being a little more widely accepted in that sense? Are the field people seeing the benefits of it and maybe so much the efficiencies to understanding, all right, we are going to stay on schedule.
Right.
We're not going to get pressured at the end of this job to finish what we technically may have finished if somebody says we don't or whatever.
Right. So I was lucky. I had a lot of guys that were very open to it.
Yeah.
And they embraced it, and they actually helped us out doing some QC on it to make some changes to it as it was coming out. As simple as rotating couplings so it was easier, or breaking down the pieces so they weren't so big, and just different things like that. So there was a lot of good feedback from my field guys.
That's awesome. Like, I don't think there's ever the expectation that everything we do is perfect the first time.
Right.
And maybe we never actually get to perfection. But
Right.
can we make tiny little adjustments over time to a little bit?
Yep.
On that side of things, I'm gonna office bash just a little bit. Us guys with soft hands and carpet walking shoes. Sometimes we cook up these ideas that seem a little bit silly, even though we think we're right. we sell clients on things and come up with stuff. And I'm not picking on any one person in particular, right? We do that in estimating.
Right.
We do that for BD. I'm talking about project management too. What would you want them to know about your work? How can you help us be better in the office because of your experience and kind of your perspective?
Well, I don't know if I'd want you guys to change the way you're doing things because you keep getting work.
Okay, that's good. Yeah.
As far as, I guess the biggest advice I would have is you got to be willing to adapt. I mean,
Sure.
Adapt to all the changes, all the software. Is it a pain? Yeah, sometimes it sucks, right? With different programs that we get kicked. It's been a while now, but we're due for a couple new programs. I don't know.
I don't know where that starts, but I'm not the guy pitching.
I know that. I'm just kidding. But they send them out, and then we got to learn them all.
Yeah.
But you got to have an open mind, and the guy signing your check wants you to do it, right? Otherwise, find another place to work.
and I think that's fair. That's totally fair.
Right?
Yeah.
Chris Herman, did you hear that?
I don't know. I mean, that's the way I've always been,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not the boss. I'm working for somebody, and I'm just going to do it how they want me to do it.
But we're on a team. So
Right.
like if Andrew's the estimator and I'm the project manager, would we be well suited to come and walk the job with you a little bit
for
more?
sure.
Or to kind of live in that trailer side by side for, the 9 or 12 months on the project.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think sometimes we kind of create our own silos, and it would be really great if both you can come in once in a while and we can go out and go see where the rubber meets the road.
Right.
Right. There's a lot of empathy that gets created that way.
And another follow up on what I said earlier is if you don't like how something's done, say something.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're not going to can you, or you're not going to get disciplined if you say, hey, why are we doing this?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
You feel like it's safe to ask why?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think there's anyone in this firm that's going to get offended.
Right. And trick question for you.
Right.
Are you okay when the foremen who are working underneath you are asking you?
Absolutely.
Hey, Jared, why are we doing it this way?
For sure.
Yeah.
The apprentice can even ask.
Yeah. I'd love for you to build on that, because I think one thing that Ben mentioned was empathy, right? And I know that it'll get discussed in all these episodes probably, is when you have office staff and field staff in the industry that we are in, communication is probably the number one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Just everybody needs to be on the same page. So what is your communication approach, or how have you had to adapt in how you approach communication with the thought that you'd like people to be open-minded and suggest things to you, even if they are a material handler, right? I mean, what's your approach to that, and how do you continue to make yourself better at it?
I just tell the guys either on their first day or when they come to say, I'm an open book. If you need something, let me know. Don't be afraid to ask questions. I said, just because I drew it this way doesn't mean it's the right way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And if you got a better idea, tell me. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you why we can't, or why, that's great. Mm-hmm. Right?
And what's important from the office staff communication to the field staff communication? How is that successful?
Ask that again.
Office staff communication to the field staff communication, right? Let's say we win a job and we are transferring it over to you guys, and you guys are going to get started on it, or we're midway through a job, something comes up, we need to rebid it. Mm-hmm. What are the keys and successful points to that communication?
I know we've had good success, and I hope this is what you're looking for, but meeting with the estimators, talking about the estimate.
Like how it all came together in the first place.
Kind of like how it all come together in the first place. And we do that now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's usually meet with the sales guy, the estimator, whoever, right? And ask questions. Hey, do you got this covered? Mm-hmm. Hey, did you got this covered? Why do you have this? Why,
Yeah. Sounds like transparency.
Yeah, transparency. There you go. Yeah.
Right now, where we need to be. So that's good. And I think that's extremely valuable in today's world of fast moving, especially here, right? We're always churning.
Nothing slowing down.
Correct.
No.
And communication just needs to be handled properly.
Right.
I think is probably the best way to put it.
There's so many different ways to communicate too.
Correct. Yeah.
So when because I want to look at like the longevity of this thing too. You've been in 29 years. Eventually, you're going to either hit the lottery or you'll have enough, right? And it'll be time to retire and move on, and also your time. And you as a leader, as a coach, building that team, kind of going back to that sports analogy, are you seeing the journeymen and foremen that you've trained over the years? Are they kind of following that guideline of, hey, let's be open, let's be transparent, let's question why? Are you seeing them grow that way? And if so, because I imagine it's yes, how do we continue to encourage other field leaders to kind of perpetuate that, sort of paying it forward, being open and creating excellence here?
You're right. I have seen that. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe that's your homework.
Yeah.
Figure it out, write it down.
But, as the older we get, people that we promoted are now doing their own things, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But which is good.
Yeah.
And do I know what's going on in their jobs on a daily basis? I don't.
Nah.
Right. So that's why it's hard for me to answer that.
Yeah.
I think it's fair to say not everybody, we're not robots.
Right.
Right. And to your point at the beginning, once you know, you know.
Yeah. And I tell them, my advice I give to the guys, I said, don't have to do it my way. My way is not always the right way. Do it your way.
Yeah.
Take what you've learned from X, Y, Z, all three of these people, and make it your way. Oh. And I change the way I do things on every project.
Let me turn it around, because you're right. You're not in contact with those folks on a daily basis. But like turn it around and put yourself on the other side of it. Are you noticing in yourself traits, communication styles, problem solving, openness, respect for people that you saw demonstrated from the field leaders who taught you as you were coming up? And some bad things too about, okay, I ain't going to behave that way. I'm not going to do that.
Yes.
The wrong way can be a powerful teacher too.
You know what it is? There's the right way and the wrong way. And if you take, everyone, yeah.
Yeah.
It was a little different 25, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just a different business.
But at the same time, you can see those things that you grabbed onto,
absolutely,
both good and bad.
Yes, for sure. Yeah. Was I treated like a dog some days when I was younger? Certainly was.
Oh, I believe.
Did I want to treat other people like that? No.
But, you're also setting a new standard that as apprentices come in, you don't treat them like a dog, as you say. You're going to treat them with respect. And I think, thankfully, there's a lot of things about the industry that have changed in the last 25 years.
Big time. Big time.
The things that have happened on job sites, they don't need to continue.
No.
They didn't help.
No.
Kind of with that, I wrote down some questions before we came in here. One of the things I've noticed about our industry that's also changed is in the past, there was this expectation that unless you were actively dying, not just like mostly dead, but actively dying, then you could call in sick. Otherwise, you were some wimp, weakling, quitter. And then we had a pandemic. And then that changed. And it's like, if you're sick, don't come get us sick. But that's like an office perspective, because I've been in the office for a while now.
Right.
How is that on the field?
So I'll tell you how I operate that.
Yeah.
I might get some negative. I might get some negative.
Where we ask the safety group to tune out?
No. I'm a big advocate for vacations.
Yeah.
Everyone needs a vacation. I've had guys that don't take any vacations, and
what's that about?
They're grumpy, and everyone needs a refresh, right? Yeah. And if you're sick, stay home.
Yeah.
Now, do I practice what I preach all the time? Probably not. But I do preach it. Stay home. You don't need to get anyone sick.
Yeah. Yeah.
And don't worry about it.
And how is navigating that in the field?
It's hard to, you just say it enough. If you're sick, stay home. And, your toolbox talks, and, you just small talk after a toolbox talk, or just, how's everyone doing? It's the middle of winter. If you're sick, stay home. Yeah. If your kids are sick and you need to stay home with them.
Yeah.
And I would guess too, like when that individual comes back, and they took 3 days off because they had a flu and they're coughing and hacking that nobody else wants to get.
Right.
And that gal comes back to the job site. She doesn't get beat up about it.
No.
She doesn't get trash talked about it.
You shouldn't.
And we just go, hey, glad you're back. Glad you didn't get the rest of us sick.
Right.
Let's keep moving.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Yeah.
I have one question before I'd like to get a little personal stuff out of Jared. Let's hear a little bit more about him. But
this is my favorite.
Just because you've been in the industry for a experienced amount of time, what's your vision, especially as a leader, in tools and how that's changed? And what do you find as maybe the efficiencies now versus some deficiencies in the way things are made and mass produced in that matter?
So tools, are you meaning like things that a craft worker will hold in their hands?
Correct.
To do work?
Yes.
Power tools.
Yep. Yeah. What have you seen as probably the biggest change and maybe is lagging still, or maybe progressed a little too fast?
A lot of the safety things have changed big time on tools. And there's different tools now for different things that never existed.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean,
You found a way before.
Right. And that
Give a couple examples.
Oh gosh.
To the non-electricians.
So
in
like
the
15
audience.
years ago, some superintendent's like, hey, you need this. And I'm like, what do I need that for? I've never seen it. It's a little saw, right? And I got it, sat in my box forever until a carpenter seen it. He's like, oh, can I use that? I'm like, sure.
Didn't get that back.
I have, but every project I've been on, the carpenters have used it more than us electricians.
Really?
And we've used it also for, cutting holes in walls, but it cuts like a razor thin and you can set the depth of the blade to go to a stud. So you can cut a hole and put the same piece back in and it's easier to patch. Silly, right?
Yeah.
But wildly effective.
Very effective.
Yeah,
that thing's been used a lot.
Yeah.
When I don't remember what other tool, nibblers, like the little thing. I never heard of them.
What's a nibbler?
It's this little thing that does little half moon punches, cuts sheet metal.
Okay.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's.
You probably used it.
Was he qualified?
I had 10-foot stacks of conduit on the shoulder, and I went up and down that neuroscience building. 4 levels, Ben. Just keep in mind. I think Jared delayed the elevator process. He just stood there and said, "No, we're not working on these today until this kid goes back to school because he's going to learn."
So sometimes you got treated like a dog.
No. He said, "This is good for you."
No. There's so many different tools like the wire peelers and the safety stuff. I mean, that's the
most important part of it.
Yeah, and I think that's been the big driver on the tool manufacturers to get all these new products, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I really do. And it's been good. Some aren't as popular as others.
But I think coming home with 10 fingers every day is like a really popular thing.
But we're human and we will all adapt.
Yeah.
Like it or not.
For sure. For sure. Can I totally switch gears again?
Absolutely.
Every podcast guest we have, we send out a very basic questionnaire, just a couple of primers. And one of the things that you said that you like to do outside of work is road trips with your family. I am also a road trip kind of guy. Me and my kids have loved it forever.
Yep.
But share a couple of highlights, like cool places you went, places you should not have gone.
Right.
Steer us away from that kind of stuff. Or
Well, last year my 2 younger boys and my wife's like, you take the boys and go, because I was out of town for 2.5 years.
Yeah.
So she's like, I need a break.
You didn't take your vacation for 2.5 years. Right. Get it.
So
and how old are the boys? Just for reference.
16 and 12.
Okay.
And the oldest is 21.
Yeah.
He didn't come with it. So I loaded up, me and the 2 boys headed out to Colorado, Utah, Arizona, New Mexico last year for a road trip. And then this year, the boys wanted to show mom what we'd seen last year. So we did basically the same thing, but backwards.
Okay.
Put on like 4,600 miles just a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun. And
that.
I've driven out to Seattle, up almost to Vancouver, down to California, through Oregon and back, all the way down to tip of Texas and Smoky Mountains and
What's your
Florida. They're also different.
Your favorite drive?
No, not
hard
really.
to-
It's hard. I mean, driving through the mountains is awesome.
Yeah.
It is. But
let's create a cheat sheet
for
how to do good road trips with your boys and or your wife. Do you need to rent an RV? Can you do it in the minivan? Is a Honda Accord big enough?
I have
Give us a cheat sheet. What should you do
Chevy
to have a great?
2012 Silverado.
Okay, perfect. It's a good place to start.
Trusty.
Yeah.
This is the first year I didn't take it because it's got almost 300,000 on it. So
Okay.
It should.
I rented one. So yeah, just load up and go. Pack way too much stuff that you don't need. And
Yeah.
just wing it.
Okay. Didn't have like this super detailed criteria.
New.
That is
Never
awesome.
do.
Stop for gas when you needed it. and
Yep. Find a place to stay when you need a place to stay. Just
Love that.
chill.
Live off the land.
Yeah, it's
almost.
pretty fun.
Yeah.
I got at my house. I got 3 kids, and we went almost 2 years ago now, and I think they were 15, 14, and 11. And we took this road trip. We went out to Calgary, saw Jasper and Banff, and came back down through Montana. And I was like, "Well, kids, we could fly, and we'd have more time there." They're like, "No, Dad, we got a road trip." I was like, "Do you know what Saskatchewan looks like?" But it was great. It was like one of the best trips we've ever taken.
Right.
And,
It's so fun because you can find, some of the coolest places we found off the beaten path. And I'm like, oh, let's spend a couple days here.
You can't stop at a diner from a plane.
Right,
yeah,
right.
exactly. It's this weird crap.
Yeah.
We had to stop someone and like, I need to use the bathroom. I'm like, all right. Oh, there's a historical marker coming up. Pulled over and here's Butch Cassidy's childhood home, right?
Just like weird stuff. Okay.
Do you have more planned?
No,
Any bucket list ones coming up? Or?
not really. We'll just wing it. I don't know this summer. I don't know what we're going to do, but figure it out.
All right. I love it.
Yeah.
Before we started this episode, we had a gentleman that most of us around here know stop in and give you a little grief about maybe some pictures. So you can unpack that. And if you don't give enough detail, I'm just going to ask questions.
That's fine. All right. So you're speaking of the president, Mr. John Axelson.
Oh, Mr. now. Excellent.
Yes.
Okay.
I was privileged to work with him before he became the big shot here. And we were working out of town in Marshfield, and I'd come back to the office every once in a while. And his office, if anyone knows John back in the day, he had papers stacked everywhere and whatnot, right?
And like sell this too, just like make stuff up.
Yeah, it looked like papers exploded and threw up all over his office, right?
Yeah.
It was messy.
Did he know where everything was?
He did. He knew where
Okay.
everything was.
Okay.
And it was a joke. They had to move him to different offices every so often just to.
Just to mess with him.
So fast forward, I was at a project in Burnsville, and this is back before I had all my catalogs and all my books on my computer. So I had a bookshelf, right?
Yeah. With binders and stuff. just lined up.
Binders and everything, right? Well, one day I got it, came to work, and the whole thing had fallen down all over my print table, books laying everywhere. It was just a mess. So I took a picture of it and I sent it to him. That's what that's all about. I said, this looks like yours.
Yeah, well, now we're matching.
Right.
But it took an actual explosion for mine to happen.
Right.
Oh, it's funny.
I appreciate that because, like, you go into John's office today and it's much more organized than that.
Yeah.
It's just kind of lined up just so.
I don't want to sit and pick on my boss.
No, like he's a human being too.
Yeah,
We're
I
going to pick on him.
He encouraged it. He brought it up.
He brought it on himself. And, as a spoiler, we're going to have John on in just a few episodes and we're going to ask him, some silly stuff, but also some business stuff too.
Sure.
So we'll see if he's got more dirt on you.
Okay.
We'll see his side of the story.
See his side of the story? All right.
Right on. Well, Jared, we've talked a lot. We've asked you a million questions. Do you have questions for us or things that you want to share that are kind of top of mind with the audience? Keeping in mind, a lot of it's going to be field workers, a lot of it's going to be office folks, and maybe some of our customers and clients too.
Just thanks for the opportunity. This is way out of my comfort zone. So I'm an electrician.
You were similar to how you got your role into leadership in the field. You were told to be here.
Yeah,
you were,
pretty
you
much.
were summoned.
Yeah, that's what I told her when she called.
Yeah.
Like, yep, I'll do it.
Yeah. Okay.
Jared, you and I have done interviews in different parts of the country and, here locally as well. And I always appreciate your candor and your willingness to just try some silly stuff and see how it shakes out.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Sweet.
Anything else you want to leave the audience with today?
No. Thank you for for joining us. This has been great. And
thank you.
I hope that we can have you on again and share some more stories.
All right.
Before you run out of here, I also want to make sure that we acknowledge a couple of folks who are behind the camera here, because this was not like the Ben and Andrew, like, oh, hey, let's do something silly and get Jared in here. So we've got on some video and audio side of things, we have Ben Confirst and Travis Melander. Thank you guys for being here. Lindsay, our producer, makes sure that the three of us are sitting in the right place at the right time. So thank you to Lindsay. And Sarah Bang is really involved in this too. I forget what her title was.
Executive Director of Universal Podcasting.
Yeah, I think that's about right. Yeah,
She's kind of a big deal.
Yeah, well, it's a big deal.
I know she is.
Cool. Well, that's it. Thanks for your time.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to that episode of the Beyond the Breaker podcast. Obviously, you found out how to watch us and listen. But if you're looking for other ways, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, watch on YouTube, plenty of other ways. If you have questions about it, ask Ben Foreman or myself, ask Travis, ask Ben Confirst. We'll point you in the right direction.
Absolutely. And if you want to hit us via email, beyondthebreaker@huntelec.com, or drop comments on those different ways you're going to consume the podcast. And really, for the next few episodes, we've got some great guests. We talked to some leadership. We talked to mid-level folks. We talked to all kinds of different people from around the company. So looking forward to it. Thanks for watching.